truly believe in the magic.
What's up, Magic fans? Welcome to Penny for Your Thoughts, Orlando Magic UK's weekly podcast. This is episode 68. As always, I'm joined by Mikey and Paul. And Paul's just put down his glasses. That's a shame. He was looking a bit like Wendell Carter Jr.
Oh, Wendell, look. Like, I mean that when we record this, I'm in that in-between place of, do I quite need them? Because they're for reading and then they're also for driving. So sort of mid-range, it just leaves everything blurred. So I'm sort of, they're on and off at times.
Yeah, that's fair enough. How are you? You okay, mate?
Yes, mate. Can't complain, pal. Thank you very much.
Oh,
yourself? Good.
Yeah, can't complain. Well, I say can't complain. I've just learned that Tom Brady's just retired. So it's, hello darkness, my old friend for the Buccaneers. So Mr. Clark there's celebrating. How's your week been, Mikey?
My week's even better now I've heard that news. So now I'm a Raiders fan. You can come back down to our level again, pal. Hey?
Good stuff. So we're delighted to be joined. First time as a guest of the show, but he has been on the show before when we did the fantasy draft of the all-time Magic. So six-man co-host from Omaha, Nebraska, Mr. Luke Sylvia. How are you, Luke?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. I'm riding high after a much-needed win there against the Pistons. As I was telling you guys before we started recording, I was really hoping we could rip off 3 straight. Would have been a lot of fun, especially for a team that at that point had only won 9 games, or 8 games, really, I guess, as of Sunday. Or 9, actually. Sorry. So now just getting the 10th win. I was hoping it was going to be the 11th, but I'm good, guys.
Awesome. Good stuff. And we just touched on the NFL there. Who's your team out of interest?
My fantasy football team is my team.
All right.
I was a big fan of the Colts and Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy when Peyton was on that team. But Peyton parted ways, Dungy left, obviously, and so I ever since then I didn't really want to bandwagon follow a player to another team. That's just not how I am. The teams in Florida were really they sucked around the time that I was getting into sports for the most part. And so I'm not as big on the NFL. So I'm mainly college football. For me, I went to the University of Florida, so I'm a big Gator fan. But yeah. So as far as NFL, like I said, I root for my fantasy team, and I really was rooting for Brady again. I had really embraced him being the best quarterback of all time, and was hoping he'd just continue to win. Really surprised that he retired.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising, isn't it? It's a shame because Gronk will probably walk now.
Definitely.
So, soon.
Yeah, let's just hope there's some way we can get Aaron Rodgers down in Tampa, because we've got a good receiving core there. So let's just keep our fingers crossed.
I know your second string is Tampa Bay's second string is Blaine Gabbert, I think, but I think his contract expires, and then behind him is my fellow Gator Kyle Trask. So I'm hoping he can at least be second string this year, but we'll see if he learned anything from old TB in the past season here.
Yeah. I'm
sure. You know why he's gone. You know why he's gone, though, don't you? Because his mate Antonio Brown decided to have another little moment, and he realised he can't win without him, so he's quit. So it's all on Antonio Brown.
Yeah, problem, isn't he?
He is a problem.
Yeah. Right, let's get the show underway. We'll just do a quick recap of the last week since we recorded last, and Magic news, injuries, etc. So the Magic played 4 times since our last recording. We lost to the Los Angeles Lakers 116-105. Jalen Suggs scoring 22 points and 9 assists to lead the way. We then beat the Chicago Bulls 114-95. Moritz Wagner scoring 23 points to lead the way. We played the Los Angeles Clippers, a game we probably should have won given the first half. We lost that one by a decision of 111-102. Franz Wagner led the way with 21 points. And then last night, we absolutely annihilated the Detroit Pistons. That's nice to say, isn't it? And Franz Wagner led the way with 24 points, completely, well, not him and Suggs outplaying Cade Cunningham. And really putting on a show. So that was good to see. News for the week then. Wendell Carter Jr. returned to the lineup against the Lakers, coming from the bench, scoring 19 points in 19 minutes. Markel Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Michael Carter-Williams and Etuan Moore remain listed as out, although we do keep seeing a lot of rumours that Markel is back, and then they're dashed and they're fake accounts and whatnot, and it's all over Magic Twitter. And then today, according to Shams, Magic guard Cole Anthony is committing to the NBA Slam Dunk contest at All-Star Weekend in Cleveland. We await confirmation of the final lineup, but hopefully we get to see number 50 put some 50s on the board, as long as that clown Dwayne Wade isn't a judge. So we're happy with that, guys?
Hey, you know me, an All-Star Weekend. I really don't have a lot of interest in it. Don't do it for me. I'll watch the skills contest and the 3-point contest and the slam dunk, but the actual game itself, no real interest. Yeah. It doesn't float my boat.
No, fair enough. But if Cole gets a good show in, you'll only propel his name, and we might just get some more media coverage here in Orlando. So it can only benefit us. Additionally, the All-Star lineup starters were announced a couple of days ago. The Western Conference consists of Golden State guard Stephen Curry, Memphis Grizzlies guard Ja Morant in the backcourt, along with reigning MVP Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets and forward Andrew Wiggins of the Golden State Warriors. I'll just.
You got something to say about that, G? Because you took to Twitter in a little rage about that the other day.
Not in a rage, but come on, Andrew Wiggins, you having a laugh? There's so many better players there in the Western Conference that are missing out on this accolade. Anyway, let's go and just tell you about the East.
Wait, isn't that only 4 players?
Did I just say 4, did I?
LeBron's got to be a starter, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, him. Yeah, LeBron. God, he's pain in my backside. Yeah, I conveniently forgot about the Laker. Anyway, in the East, Kevin Durant is joined by DeMar DeRozan, Trae Young, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo in the front court. Durant's availability for the game is a question mark due to his injury, though. But as you guys just picked up on there, I wasn't a big fan of the Wiggins inclusion, and it's obviously because of the fan vote holding 50%, and I think he's got some influencer involved. Your thoughts on the lineups, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, Wiggins, come on, man. He's averaging 18 a game. It's like, I don't know. And I understand the Warriors are a great team, but in all honesty, the Suns, it's Devin Booker not getting a nod there. I understand like they're trying to go guard forward and it kind of is a logjam there for D-Book to get in and who they're considering guards. It's ridiculous. I really do think that there should maybe be a center and then whoever else you want, like as far as like voting to get in, right? Because we are shifting to such a positionless game that it really doesn't matter. Even the big men that are stars are playing like they're like can play like they're guards, right? Jokic, Embiid, like these are guys that can run their offense, and they do run their offense, especially Jokic. So I think that, they should really get rid of the 1 through 4 positions in terms of just like holding them tight to that. Because I really do think that Wiggins got in on a technicality about like his position. I think that there was not enough wiggle room involved, and he just was very fortunate that I think he had like a K-pop star or something ridiculous, kind of influencing the fan vote. So I don't know, man. It very, very weird, but kind of goes to show you that this isn't to be taken seriously. We had Anthony Simons win the dunk contest last year. So like there's just a lot of, it's just entertainment, and it is what it is. But Wiggins being in there, it doesn't make sense to me, really.
No, completely agree. For me, Rudy Gobert, I know he's not sort of looked upon as a star, but he brings it in every night, doesn't he? 18 and 16. He's the backbone of that Utah team, who've been consistently good. So I feel for him. But there we go. So the rookie game. So the NBA announced that the game between the top rookies and sophomores in the league, which takes place on the Friday of All-Star Weekend, will have an entirely new format next month in Cleveland. So rather than two teams split evenly, we're going to have between rookies and sophomores. There's going to be now 4 7-man teams made up of a combination of 12 rookies, 12 sophomores, and for the first time, 4 G League Unite players. The rookies and sophomores will be selected by NBA assistant coaches, while the 4 G League Ignite players will be selected by G League head coaches. Hopefully we get to see some, Magic and possibly Lakeland participation. Any thoughts, Mikey?
Paul's already alluded to it. Like it's just an entertainment weekend. There's nothing really riding on it. There's nothing. It doesn't hurt mixing the format up. Obviously, it used to be rookies versus sophomores. Then they went to USA against the rest of the world. That worked. I thought that actually worked quite well. I don't know quite why they needed to change that format so much, but they're just playing around with it. Yeah, it's all right. I'm pretty even when it comes to that sort of stuff. I don't mind.
Fair enough. So a couple of sort of topics from this week's games that I picked up on, just to have a quick chat with you guys. So for me, the defensive intensity in the last few games has gone up a notch, and it's no surprise it's coincided with Jalen Suggs coming back into the team. What are your thoughts on Suggs' impact whilst on the floor? So go to Luke first.
Yeah, I think that I'm starting to now come around with Jalen. I was not on board with the pick when it happened, mainly because I feel like the Magic were pigeonholed into thinking they had to draft Jalen Suggs, right? And because of Scotty Barnes going 4. And I still stand by that. I think that was something that like the Magic probably felt, that he was the 4th best player in the draft, and also was just kind of like, he felt to us, we really don't have a choice. If we pick anybody else here in this position, we're going to look like idiots. But I think that Jalen had some glaring issues, as all those young guys do, right? But I really think that time off, since the time off that he had, he was able to kind of take a bird's eye view of his game. He still has his turnover problems are still there, but he is he feels more intense. He feels more of a leader than he was prior to his injury. We saw it when he was on his break. He was, coaching guys who were at the free throw line. He was, yelling at them to make sure they knew their assignments and, giving them encouragement, whatever it was. He would stand up at pivotal points of the game and go to where a coach normally stands to communicate with them. So I think that he really was able to, not only just craft his game, but the most important part of it all probably is his leadership. And if he wants to be the guy for the Orlando Magic one day, that's what he's got to do. I think that he has done a phenomenal job with the defense. The defensive rating, since he's been back, has been through the roof. The Magic were in the 10 worst teams basically in the defensive rating, and now they're in the top 10 best in defensive rating since he's been back, I believe. So huge impact defensively. He's not forcing too much when he's shooting. I think that he really has taken a step since we last saw him.
Absolutely. Paul, anything to add?
Mate, I think one of the things that I've really loved seeing is his improved conditioning, and he's alluded to it that they had him in the gym. The management had him in the gym every day working on his strength and conditioning because they felt that it wasn't quite what it should have been when he joined the team, which he has said he was in full agreement with. And I think since he's come back, you've seen the benefit of that increased physicality, because he's taking charges, he's diving about the floor. As soon as he puts the ball on the floor, he's got an explosive drive. Whether it's look, we were talking about the football earlier on, and we all know that he played football to a high level in high school. As soon as he puts it on the floor, he's them football abilities are showing. He's able to drive, be it the drive for yards or getting himself some position to get the space to be able to get a pass away. And then when he goes to the basket, as we saw against, wow, can posterize somebody. Superb since he's come back. And his defensive ability is second to none.
Yeah, I want to add to that. You talk about his ability to get to the rim in college, and I've talked about it on the show the past couple of weeks, but in college, he showed a tendency to try to be more elusive at the rim. And he didn't really seem to want the contact, which was really weird considering he is a football player, right? I mean, that was super odd to see in college. And that was one of the things that I was kind of like, what's wrong? Like, why doesn't he want to just, embrace that contact and go and finish strong? Since he's been back, I mean, he's shooting over 4 free throws a game. If he can get to that over 5 mark, just in general, if we can depend on him to shoot 5+ free throws a game, that would be incredible. He's a decent free throw shooter. He had a game where he had a ridiculous amount recently. I believe it was like 7 or 8 free throws recently. So I think that's a big thing for him. I think that for whatever reason now that has clicked for him, and he is just embracing the role of just being the physical player that he is, not just sacrificing his body on the floor, which he's always done, but going up and absorbing that contact. I think that's a good point. That's something that I've been, talking about as well with him.
Yeah. You look as well. His football ability was shown with the full court pass to Wendell against the Lakers. What a pass. And his spirit last night. And again, that improved fitness with in the chase down block against Detroit. And that was sorry, G, that was LeBron-esque. It was who? A generational player, the one who's not bad, according to you. He's all right.
Yeah. Do you know the impact it feels like he's made? Is a bit like when Cole Anthony got hurt last year and he took that time out, sat on the bench, watching from the sidelines, getting a different perspective. Suggs has done the same thing. And if you forget the numbers for the minute and get to the free throw line more and being more physical, he just looks like somebody who's being able to watch the game from a different point of view, stand on the sidelines and watching the game and probably thinking, right, when I'm on the floor, I can make an impact in these areas. And I could like we've seen him probably jump the passing lanes more and steal the ball and get out and transition quickly more than he did earlier in the season. It's things like that. You're thinking he's probably reading the game a little bit differently. Forget the numbers. I just feel like his confidence gone up another level because he can see when he is back out on the floor what sort of impact he can make for the Magic without necessarily putting up more points or shooting the three better. Forget all that. His impact is his intensity and the energy he plays with. And that's starting to rub off on other people now. And we saw that with like some of his dunks that we saw against Chicago. But yeah, he's had a much, much bigger impact since he's come back from injury.
You look as well at since he's come back, he's had his career high in points and assists. That shows that you've got greater confidence. And I'm just happy to see his energy because the minutes he's playing, I won't say he's playing more minutes since he's returned, but I think the minutes are more meaningful that he's actually producing.
No, absolutely. Right. So another player who I feel has been playing quite well is Chuma Okeke. Last year we did think he was going to be a bit like Kawhi. The season didn't start off like that. But in recent weeks, he's averaged over 13 points per game over the last 5, including 2 outings where he scored 17 points last night against Detroit and 18 against Philadelphia, I think it was last week. While shooting 85% from the floor in both games, he was knocking down the threes. I think he went 6 or 7 in one of those games, probably the Philly game. So what are you seeing from him, guys, in the last week or so? Mikey?
Consistency and confidence, probably the biggest 2 things. Obviously, shooting the ball much better and the points are going up, but I just feel that's down to consistency of probably playing a more consistent role. Whereas earlier in the season, he was trying to get his conditioning back. He was trying to get himself back into the team and trying to carve out a role in and amongst everybody else. Because there's been so many moving parts this season. And obviously December, we had players going, we were out left, right and center with COVID and injuries. And it felt like we were just plugging players in different spots. But now Chuma's playing a bit more of a defined role. I think that's probably having a larger impact on him as well. And like I said, just the fact that he's getting reps and putting these shots up night in, night out, he's gradually starting to see 1 or 2 fall, and you can see that confidence starting to grow.
Yeah. Anything to add, Luke?
Yeah, I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit here. I'm not sold on his progress right now, man. Right. It's hard, right? Because when he's a boom or bust player right now in his last 10 games, right? I mean, you just look at his game log, and in terms of his field goal percentage, he shoots 6 for 7 against Detroit, 85% from the field. Then before that, 2 for 9. Before that is his only game shooting like in the 50s or 40s from the field. Prior to that, shoots 36%. Prior to that, 6 for 7, exactly what he did last night, but against Philly, 85% from the floor, 28%, 25%, 33%, 27%. He does the same thing from the field that he does with those 3-pointers. And it's because his 3-pointers right now are taking it's basically the main shots he takes. I feel like they're from the perimeter. I think that for Chuma, man, I'd really like to see him get to the free throw line more. I'd like to see him. He's not, I mean, in the past, whatever it is, like 8-9 games, he shot a total of 5 free throws. So he doesn't get to the line because he's, out by the 3-point line. I think when it rains, it pours with him, right? I mean, when he is hitting, he's on. But when he's not, I'm like, man, get this guy off the floor. I don't want to see him shoot another 3. And then he'll come in and have performances that he had like last night, 3 of 4 from 3, 3 of 5 from 3. But then against LA, shoots 10 threes and makes 3 of them. So it's just, I don't know how to feel about Chuma. Defensively, he's good, obviously. But offensively, man, he leaves a lot to be desired for me.
That's interesting because, when it comes to when I'm writing the game reviews on the website, I'm either writing that Chuma's had a spectacular game or he's just getting left out completely. That's really interesting, Luke, what you're saying. I really like the guy and I want him to be a success. I like the fact that we're actually using him in his natural position now rather than asking him to do something else, and that's the benefit of having players return. I do think that the injuries, when we had Greg Anthony on, we were talking about this then, losing the summer, not having summer league, losing a lot of training camp has had a huge impact on his ability to be effective during the season. I think that the starting minutes that he got a few weeks ago have helped. I think it's improved his confidence, but he, as I said, he's that boomer player. But I really want to see him succeed. But defensively, you can't fault the guy. Superb defensive ability. 3 blocks last night, and he could probably be more effective for the team. Mikey, I know you said to us before that you just feel he's going to be a role player as opposed to a star.
Yeah, that's. I think that's all he's going to be, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He's going to have a role on the team.
You've got to have players. You've got to have players who are role players who come out and that's their job, and they're not going to be the limelight, headline grabbing guy. Chuma's probably that player. A lot. I think some of the stuff he doesn't show up on the box score, but yeah, it's all or nothing with him at the moment.
It's a small sample size as well, isn't it? This run that he's been on, where he's had good games.
I do wonder if you look at the nights where he is threes, like against Lake. That was a game where when very much felt that we're settling for shots here, as opposed to being good shots, the ones where we're just forcing them up. I don't know how. I wasn't particularly with it during the Lakers game. I wasn't feeling over well. But so I didn't take that much notice, but I wonder if some of those shots on that particular night were as a result of that sort of thing, of them just being launched, that we were just lobbing threes and hoping something went in and got us going, opposed to being designed plays.
Yeah, he is that kind of player, though, like a Trevor Ariza, Robert Covington, very good defensively, very, a strong player that you can see a championship team needing, So let's just hope he sticks around and develops his game. And, he's got the tools. So let's just give him an opportunity to, try and flourish.
He's an ideal example of what this season's about, isn't he? That it's throw everything onto the court, see what sticks, see what's good, see what works, and hopefully you get good development that gives us a point to build from. Yeah,
definitely. As I mentioned previously, there's a lot of talk about Markel coming back. So just wanted to get everyone's take. With a fully healthy team, I think you touched upon this on the 6-man show, Luke. What would be your guard rotation with a healthy Markel, Suggs, Anthony, RJ Hampton, Gary Harris? Who's your starters? And, we just go from there. Paul, I'll come to you first.
Okay. I'm going to say that if you possess the shirt, it's yours for the moment. If you are Markel and you are coming back from injury, I don't think you come straight back into the starting rotation. I think that you've got to earn that starting jersey. I think you've lodged somebody. We saw, what was it, 8th season from him before he went down injured, and it was with a very different team. We all know at this moment that the 5 starters we have are ranked extremely highly in efficiency in the NBA as a starting 5 unit. I like to see Cole and Jalen play together. I think that there's something that can develop there. So for me, at this moment, Fultz comes from the bench. Ultimately, I think you're probably looking at Markel taking the shirt as being the lead point guard with the responsibility as the main ball handler, with support from the bench of either Cole or Jalen. And I think Gary Harris comes from the bench if he is still with us in a few weeks' time.
Okay, Mikey?
I don't think it matters this season.
I'd actually got that down, Mikey.
Have you?
Yeah, I'd got that down as to say it's an experimental season, so play with it.
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt, say, some games to play Markel and Cole together, Markel and Jalen together, Jalen and Cole. We've already seen what those two do together. So you could probably say the last 30-odd games when Markel comes back, mix the rotations up, mix the lineups up and see if anything develops. But I think going into next season, it's really difficult because part of me still thinks Markel's going to come back and be the best guard that we've got. And that makes one of Jalen or Cole benchable to me. And to me, if Cole's the better outside shooter, which hasn't been as good lately, but I think he might be a better fit next to Markel to start next season, and Jalen maybe coming off the bench. But with the impact that Jalen's been having since he's come back from injury, I don't know. It's a really difficult question. Again, I think you just got to play with rotations and play with lineups and see if anything develops out of that. But I do agree, though, Paul. There is a point where if you've got the jersey, if you've got that position nailed down and you've been playing well, then I don't see any reason why you should be ousted out of that position if somebody else is due to come back. But I still think Markel is probably the best guard if he's fully healthy when he comes back.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have. Do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I think that, and like you said, I talked about it, right? So basically, what it breaks down to is, do you want your starting five to have outrageous defensive production? Not potential. I think a lot of times that we get sucked into potential, right? We think Markelle is still going to be the superstar guard. Some people do. And I don't agree with that. I think that he will be a very good player, a good starter, point guard starter for a long time. I don't think that he'll be a star. I think that, however, I think that once he is good, once he has no more minute restriction, I think you have to start him right now. I think that the starting lineup, and I'll give my reason why here real quick. The starting lineup should be Markelle, Jalen Suggs, Franz, J.I., and Dell. The reason being, we need Cole off the bench. We need him to be that spark plug off the bench. I think he would thrive in that role. I think that he would be great in terms of his offensive output. So I think that that's the biggest reason. I mean, can you imagine the defensive prowess that starting lineup would have with those guys? I mean, it's ridiculous. All of those guys are good defenders. Yeah. And then let the bench come in and try to put in the offense. If Gary Harris and T. Ross are still here as of February 10th, man, I think that this could literally be a Jekyll and Hyde type thing where you've got a really good defensive lineup in the team on the court to start, and you've got those guys on the bench that'll be producing the offense throughout the rest of the game there, as they kind of go back and forth. So I think that I think there's a lot of potential on this team, but I think it doesn't need to be overthought. That to start the game with that defensive intensity, hold players, teams to a minimum in that quarter, the first quarter especially, would set you off on the right foot. I think that's what you got to start with.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Luke there. The only thing I will say, and I do think Markelle is going to be the star, etc., but we did have Greg Anthony on, and he did make a really good point in that Cole's first season has been better than any of Markelle's seasons. So whilst we, hold Markelle to this pedestal, and we still do, Cole's been playing fantastically in the season and a half we've had him. And a bit like Mike and Paul said, at the moment he's got the jersey. So should we give it up or, move him to the bench? But you made great points. It's an experimental season. But I did like the lineup that Luke mentioned there, and I think Cole can be, that spark plug off the bench. So what would have been your answer, Luke, earlier in the season when Cole was averaging a good 20 points per game?
It would have been definitely. I think at the time I was in the moment, right? you think that's sustainable, and it's just not. I mean, maybe eventually it's sustainable, but right now it's not. We've seen his numbers dip. Cole's been struggling. I think that being the leader of that bench unit could really be the next elevation that he has to get closer to where he was at the beginning of the season. I just wouldn't trust Jalen to go to the bench and lead that unit offensively by any means. I think that Cole is more than confident to do it and would be best suited for the time being until, and that's the thing, right? I mean, Manu Ginobili, guys like that off the bench, those 6 men that just kind of stay there, they're not bad players by any means. They're great. So that's not a knock on Cole. I just think that he could benefit from it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that Cole would actually like to be coming from the bench. I think he wants to be a starter. I don't think he wants to accept a 6-man role or not. Be interesting. Yeah, definitely. Right then, let's get to know our guest, Mr. Luke Sylvia, a little bit more then. So, Luke, tell us about your Magic fandom from when you started following the team.
It really started right around when Dwight, got drafted. Back then was really when I started to get. I was like 8 at the time, I think. So I was really starting to start to watch more and more sports. I always played them from when I was little, like most people, but start to really enjoy to watch the game. I could sit through a whole game. I wouldn't need to, and I still struggled with that. Like even till I was like 12, I would struggle sitting through a game because all I wanted to do when I watched a basketball game was either go play basketball outside because it made me want to play basketball, or play like NBA 2K, or at the time NBA Live on my gaming system. So I really got plugged into the Magic there, man, and I started to really get invested in the team then, and it's been a journey. But I really wish I could go back and tell myself when I was like 11, hey, let's 11, 12, 13 years old, really enjoy these seasons, because soon it's going to get dark really quick.
I can relate to watching the television and wanting to go out and play. I remember watching Mighty Ducks when I was a kid and thinking, right, I want to go and play ice hockey.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, that's a tough one. So, yeah, cool.
You can't ice skate, G, can you? So that's not a good start.
No, rollerblades, wasn't it?
Rollerblades.
Yeah.
Luke, you've probably talked about this before, but I've never actually heard it. How did you come to join the Sixth Man Show? How did you know Jonathan before? And second part, has he ever gotten over you not inviting him to Disney last year?
I'll answer that one first. No, Jonathan is he's a petty individual. So I think that Jonathan, if you're listening to this, I'm just kidding. I love you. But no. So I don't think so. As far as kind of how I got to join the show, I really we're coming up on in a couple months, it'll be that have been on the show for 2 years at that point, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I didn't know Jonathan at all. Jonathan and I didn't know each other. He posted on Twitter. He tweeted out, he had followed me and I had followed him on Twitter, but I never really interacted with the account or anything. And he tweeted out, and I had just been kind of thinking to myself, like, I need another outlet. Like I want an outlet where, whether it's streaming, playing video games, or doing a podcast, I don't really, at that point, like, didn't care what it was about. Like, I just felt like this urge or like this passion to do something in the media realm. I was a production major in college. But at that moment, I told my wife that I was like, I just want to do, like, I want something else. But the issues come with, when it comes to streaming video games, you need to have equipment and do all those things. I'm like, this is something I have to invest in, the things that I want to do financially. And so Jonathan tweets out and he says, looking for a co-host, just DM me with kind of your experience and we can set up a time to talk. So that was what happened. Jonathan and I talked on, I told him I had done some stuff for the Magic. I was kind of shadowing John Denton at the time when I was 17. Okay. I had a family connection with at the time, the head strength and conditioning coach, Bill Burgos, who now is with the Timberwolves as their head strength and conditioning coach. And he got me really plugged in and connected me with John Denton. So I had experience around the team. I interned for the Lakeland Magic for a year doing all their production work there in Lakeland. And so, yeah, that was when, that was kind of my experience, I guess. Right. I had been on the radio before in high school. I was an intern and ended up doing a show once a week. So I felt like I had the criteria to do something like that. And Jonathan and I talked, and it was just up to like chemistry at that point, like how did we gel? And even just in the conversation we had via Zoom, at the time, man, it was great. We really got along. We shared a lot of the same values, and that was a really good thing there as well. So I didn't know Jonathan before, and now we talk every day. It's pretty crazy.
Awesome.
Right, so I've got to ask you, what do you want to see happen in the trade deadline window, and is it the same as you think will happen?
I'm going to say that kind of what I'm thinking. I really haven't had any big dreams for the trade deadline, right? I mean, I haven't even like tried to I'm protecting my heart, Paul. I'm protecting it because I don't want to think that the Magic are going to make a trade that they're absolutely not. And I think that so I'm being just more realistic, I guess, with what I think will happen. And that kind of just naturally is my thinking of what I want to happen now. Is that T. Ross and Gary, one of them, if not both, get dealt. I honestly, I wouldn't. It's going to ruffle feathers, obviously, among listeners and whoever, but I wouldn't mind if like an RJ or Chuma got traded for like a veteran that is still in, able to produce for a few more years. I think that, a guy that realistically we could sign back. Don't ask me names because I really don't. I haven't thought about it that much.
Who then?
But yeah, exactly. But
always one, and it's you, Mr. Clark, every time.
Every time.
Yeah, but yeah, man. It's definitely something. I think that definitely T. Ross and Gary Harris, one of them gets dealt. I really want Gary Harris. I don't care what anybody says. I want him to stay on the team. He is completely different than he was at the beginning of the year. He is who we thought we could be getting, or at least who I thought we were getting when we had that trade with Denver. And so I think that it would be great if we could retain him. I know that it's a great possibility that he wants to, he's young, right? I think he's like 27 or something like that.
27, yeah.
Yeah. So he kind of fits with this timeline more than like a T. Ross. So if you can deal T. Ross and get whatever back for him, whether it's just draft capital, that's fine. I think that it's time to move on from him. I think a lot of us can probably agree, especially now that we have Gary Harris and kind of seeing, if we trade him, I think that means Gary Harris made it apparent to the front office, hey, I'm not coming back anyway this summer. So, feel free to deal me. I think it's a good sign for Magic fans, maybe if Gary Harris doesn't get traded at the deadline. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Where on just to follow up, where are you on Mo? Mo Bamba
on Mo Bamba. This is also gonna ruffle some feathers. I don't know that Mo Bamba is the best Mo on the team.
I'm with you.
You got a point?
Yeah. I think that what I've seen from Wagner, man, from Mo Wagner, that is, he's never going to be a blow you away player, but I really do like the guy. I think he provides a lot of tenacity, gets under people's skin. But all that to say, on Bamba, man, if he got traded, I probably wouldn't blink an eye. I'm pretty much done with the experiment. I said this to Jonathan, and he about lost his mind. I told him in the last episode, I said, I see why he wasn't getting minutes last year with Cliff. I see it. I get it. And he was like, you're not about to get on the Clifford train right here. And I was like, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that I wish that Cliff was still here to work with our guys or anything. He clearly wanted no part of that and rebuilding. But all that to say, hindsight's 2020. Mo just clearly wasn't, like, in practice and things like that. Mo very clearly just wasn't showing enough, right? I mean, he's freaking over 7 feet tall, but he can't back down Kentavious Caldwell Pope, or he can't get into the post with him and me think it's a bucket. Now, when Wendell Carter Jr. gets in the post with a smaller guy on him, I say it's a bucket. Out of my way. When 60-year-old Robin Lopez gets in the paint with a smaller guard, I think it's a bucket, right? So I just don't have the confidence.
You're seeing that hook.
Yeah, exactly. The hooks, Captain Hook's going to come to play, and so as far as Mo goes, man, I hate that. I hate it because I was on the train of thought last year that, I hope Cliff gives him some minutes. Jonathan and I were practically leading the charge on that, right? Like, we were every week, hey, Cliff, let's give Mo minutes. I see it now. And I get it. And it goes to show you that, like, the coach sees in practice, what goes on more than we do. He gets a peek behind the curtains that we'll never get to see. And now the one that I'll never understand is his infatuation with Michael Carter Williams. He has some flashes, but I don't have an excuse for Cliff on that one. But I think in the example of Mo, I see it. I get it now.
Quality, man. Quality.
So what's been your favorite memory being a Magic fan? I'm guessing it's probably something to do with the finals run in 2009, but be it a particular game or an experience at the arena.
So experience is hard, and I almost feel like I have to separate it into two separate acts. When the team was great and when the team was bad, or mediocre, I should say, in this instance. The coolest moments for me happened at the old Magic at the arena. One of our family friends had like floor seats, not necessarily like, on the, like right behind the bench, but like fourth row and on the floor. And in that arena, everybody's on top of each other. You feel like everybody's around you, and it's incredible. And I got to do that. He would give tickets to, his tickets to me and my dad sometimes when he couldn't make it, and he had season tickets at that spot. And so going to those games, I was young. I wish that happened when I was older, but I still remember it, right? I remember every aspect of it, just getting to hear the players that close to the court. And the underrated part, waitresses come around and they're like, "Can we get you a drink?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I'll take a cherry Coke." Right. But at the time I think I was probably like 12. So for a couple of years I got to do that. And those are some of my favorite times, definitely. As of late, and like the second act that we've been having was definitely when we were playing Toronto. Another family friend of mine who has box seats, he let me go for game 3 and bring a buddy of mine. And so he and I went and got to sit in the suites for game 3. And that game was awesome. And then game 4, my dad bought me and my family tickets, and we were like, I think it was like 17th row or something like that in the lower bowl. I mean, that was the most fun that I've had with the Magic, obviously, as probably is the case with all of us up to that point. And then you had within the last 8, 9, 10 years. So those are kind of my favorite moments that I'll never forget. I mean, that I, will cherish the rest of my life.
Awesome.
Whereabouts were you on the game 4 then?
What'd you say?
Can you remember the block? Whereabouts were you on game 4? Can you remember the block?
So it was all I can remember in terms of like where we were sitting was, like I said, lower bowl, but on the, it wasn't behind the baskets. It was kind of, I think it was, if I can remember correctly, the Raptors were shooting on our side in the first half. So it was, they were great seats. It was a lot of fun.
I was just wondering how close you were to us, because we were lower bowl that sort of distance back, weren't we, guys, as well?
Yeah. Did you guys all go, or was it just you, Paul, or did you guys all went?
No, we all went. We all went.
That's awesome. Did you guys decide that when were you guys planning to, once the Magic were making that crazy
as soon as we beat Boston?
Yeah. But the funny story is, Luke, in January, I think we'd started the season 10-30 or whatever it was, right. And I said to my wife, if we make the playoffs, can I go? And she said, yeah, you can go.
Right.
And then, of course, after that Boston win, it was like, right, we're booking.
Yeah. No, man, that's awesome.
I'd always said that this would be, whenever we got back to the playoffs, would be my first experience of the playoffs. So we were going as a family, and that's what we did.
That's awesome.
We were all booking seats and hotels, and
that's awesome.
Try in flight to get tickets following for the. I think it was the day, wasn't it? They put them on sale. Yeah. So, Luke, what excites you with this team when you're watching them at this moment? Just what's the thing that gets you most excited, and what's the thing that gets you most frustrated?
Most frustrated is just how, at their core, how bad this team has been. I mean, I get it, the injuries and really the injuries, right? And that's the biggest part. That's what makes me the most frustrated, is checking the injury report and seeing how many guys are on the injury report every single night. That's the most frustrating thing for me. As far as the most exciting, I think it's exciting that for the first time in a while, it feels like the Magic could have a young player go for 35 or 40 points at any given night. I think that there's, not necessarily that it happens all the time, obviously, but I think that you've got guys and Cole and Franz mainly that could just have their way, right? And apparently Mo can hit 7 threes and a half. I don't know. So there's just a lot of different things that excite me, and it all stems from the youth that this team has. This team is fun. This team competes. I think that Mosley is still getting his bearings in terms of, X's and O's, and, he's gotten better at calling timeouts when he should. He's kind of getting a better feel for the game. But I think that, there's a reason that Mosley got brought in for this young group. I think he has kept them tied together. I think that their chemistry is really a credit to him. And I think that those are just a couple things really that excite me about this team.
Yeah.
Luke, what's been your biggest surprise this season? And you can't say Franz Wagner, right? That's the only one we're not going to let you have. So what's been your biggest surprise?
It's gotta be Cole Anthony, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not Franz, it's Cole Anthony for two reasons: how great he was pre-injury and the dip he has taken since he's been back. Right. I mean, that's kind of the slump that he is in right now, man. I mean, you look at it. But I will say, in terms of Cole, and right now it's getting overlooked because he is shooting terribly right now. 33% from the field in his last 15 games, 23% on 6 attempts from 3 in his last 15 games. However, he's averaging more assists now than he was prior to his slump. Right. So, and probably more free throws. If I had to guess, he's shooting, let's see, for the year, 4.1 in his last 15, he's shooting 4.5. So I think that he is doing all he can during this slump to turn it around and be there for his team where he needs to be. And I think that that's why I think he's a team player. And I think Paul said, I don't think that he would like getting pushed to the bench. I got news for everyone. It doesn't matter how Cole feels. He's just not in the position right now to be like, no, that's frustrating. That's frustrating for me. You can't put me on the bench. And then they'll just slam down his stats from the last 15 games and say, look at your percentages right now. You're not efficient. You're being less efficient than you were at the beginning of your rookie year last year right now. And he's just doing a lot, right? There's moments where Cole gets going and he's doing a lot. But I'd say that's kind of surprised me in terms of, I knew that he would come back to reality eventually, but how hard he hit the earth when he came back to reality has been insane to me. But kudos to him in terms of facilitating and getting to the line. I think that he's just trying to figure it out. And I think that unfortunately, we won't really see how things pan out until the whole team comes back. And we've been saying it forever, and I'm tired of saying it, but it's the case.
It's weird because I said this last week on our show that I thought a big reason why Cole maybe has had this slump was Wendell being out, because I think Wendell creates a lot of space for him with pick and rolls and setting screens. He's still shooting 31% from the field and 19% from 3 in the last 4 games since Wendell's been back. And weirdly, he's one of the best free throw shooters in the league, and he's down to 76% this week. So he's just not in a rhythm, is he, at the moment?
No, it's definitely not.
It will come.
Yeah,
it will.
Luke, so one part of the 6-man show I do have a chuckle about, and I look forward to, is your sponsors with Manscaped, and watching yours and Jonathan's reactions as you have to read the script that they give you. Tell me, how many takes does that usually take?
It depends. A lot less than it used to, because we have it down to a science now, right? And it's I'll give you guys behind the scenes of what happens. So we record it. If we've got a new read, they tell us, hey, it's whether it was back when the Olympics were on, they're like, we have a new Olympic read, or it's Christmas, holiday time. So here's the script for that. And there's always our favorite parts, by the way, is reading the scripts together for the first time. I'll be looking at it and I'll be like, you have got to be kidding me. There are some things that we omit because it's too much. And we're like, we're not going to do that. I would want to do it. Jonathan is the one that's like more professional with, more conservative with what he wants to do. And he's like, no, we're not, you're not going to read that. I was like, come on. But we actually early on, it could have, so we read it in parts, right? So he goes, I go, he goes every time. And so we read it in parts. I'd say initially it took probably at least 5-6 times combined for us to like get it right and be happy with it, whether it would be stumbling or just one of us losing it. We got good at it because now I will, when he's reading, I'll mute myself, and I also I'll have the script pulled up full screen. I used to have him on it. He used to have me on his screen while he read, and he couldn't do it because I would react. And so he was like, I was like, dude, you have to just take me off your screen because I can't help but react. because a lot of the stuff I had just read the script. I'm just getting familiar with it. Yeah. So he had to take me off, and so he can't see me anymore, mainly when he reads the script, or else he was gonna start laughing too. So it's a journey, really.
It's a lot of fun listening to it.
Yeah, man.
So let's hope for the next script come in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So on to the predictions from last week. So obviously the Magic went 2-2. Gary actually got it right and correctly predicted 2-2. I went 1-3. Paul and Mikey went 0-4. So no points for us this week. So Mikey leads the way at 7-5. I'm in second place at 6-6, and Paul is at 5-7. So we're recording our next episode on Friday, the 4th of February. The Magic play 3 games before we record. That is Dallas at home this Sunday, the 30th of January at midnight. Then they play the Chicago Bulls on Tuesday, the 1st of February at 1 a.m. And then the last one before we record is at Indiana on Wednesday, the 2nd of February, again at midnight tip. So, guys, I've got Paul's prediction here, so I'll just keep that under my hat until you guys have gone first. So, Mikey, what are you going to go with, mate?
I'm going to go 1-2 this week, and we are going to beat the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday. Dallas is going to be a tough game coming in. I think Chicago is starting to get... I think Zach LaVine is back now. He missed the game when we played them last week. So I think the Bulls are going to be tough to beat on the road. Dallas are going to be tough, but I think the Pacers are probably the team there that if we're going to win a game this week, that's probably the most likely.
Okay. Luke?
So is it 3 games up to the Pacers game, right?
Yeah, so it's Dallas at home, Chicago on the road, and Indiana on the road.
Okay,
I know you do this with on the 6-man show, but we're a bit
absolutely. So what I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna say I've been feeling optimistic lately for whatever reason. This team's been gelling a little bit. I'm gonna say 2-1. I think that they surprised a lot of people, including myself, and I think that at home they beat Dallas. Dallas coming off a back-to-back. They're going to be playing the Pacers, and then they play us the very next night. So I think that the Magic take it against Dallas. I think the Bulls win against Orlando, and I think the Magic are going to beat the Pacers on Wednesday. So I'm going to go 2-1.
Awesome. Sounds good. Paul did go 1-2, and that was a win against the Indiana Pacers. So I'm going to have to be different. So I'm going to go 3. No, I'm not. I'll go 0-3. I'll go 0-3.
0-3?
Yeah, I don't want to say 0-3, but I think it's more likely to be 1-2. But let's go 0-3 just to mix it up a bit and try and catch you up.
If they go 2-1, you have to shout me out on the next episode, okay?
Of course. We will. So just a quick affiliate plug. Please support today's episode and visit the official NBA Store EU or Fanatics using our affiliate links in the description of the podcast. Shop the latest NBA gear and Orlando Magic merchandise, including jerseys, shorts, and t-shirts, available with international delivery. Fanatics carry the NFL also, so make sure you're kitted out for the playoffs, unless you're a Los Angeles Rams fan. Please use our discount code MAGICUK10 at the checkout for 10% off your entire order, or use discount codes live on the website, which may give you a better discount. Please note some exclusions do apply. Right. Magic trivia time. Right. So Paul's not here now. So I have 4 questions for you two. So all it is it's a who am I, or who's that journeyman? So they've played for the Magic at some point in their career. So I'm going to tell you the teams they played for, starting from first to last. If you need a few clues, I can tell you the years that they were those teams, and then you just have a guess. Okay? So let's start with probably the easiest one I've got on here. You can answer them together, or you can do it individually, guys. So up to you.
Mikey, I feel like I might need some help here. So me and you might need to do this. So we'll talk through it.
We'll do it together. Go on then.
Right. Okay, then. So the first player started his career with the Los Angeles Clippers. He moved to the Phoenix Suns, followed by the New York Knicks. He then traveled to Miami before having 2 seasons in Orlando. So there's a bit of a clue. And then he finished his career with the New York Knicks.
So he was with the Knicks and he went back.
So he was with the Knicks. So Clippers, Suns, Knicks, Heat, Magic, Knicks. And I'll tell you, the year he was drafted was the year 2000.
And you said this is the
easiest one. I think I've got it. You got any ideas, Luke? There's only one name I can think of.
I'm just trying to think about that last part.
And I think he works for Bally Sports on occasion.
He does work for Bally Sports.
I've got it.
On occasions. Oh, Q Rich then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay. Gotcha.
Q Rich is correct. So, right. So that's the first one. The second one. Okay. Started his career with the Seattle Supersonics. He then moved to play for the Milwaukee Bucks, followed by the Minnesota Timberwolves. He moved back to the Milwaukee Bucks. He played a season at Charlotte, or not even a full season. And then he finished his career with the Magic in 2014-15.
Reel them off again, G.
Okay, I'll tell you the years as well, just make it easier. So I feel like I've thrown Luke in the deep end here. So Sonics between 03 and 08. Milwaukee between 08 and 2010. Minnesota between 2010 and 2013. Milwaukee for 1 season, 13-14. Bobcats for the second half of that 14 season.
I got it, Mike, I think.
14-15.
Because you said he finished the season and he started with the Sonics?
He did.
Okay. You initially said Sonics and I was like, oh, it's probably going to be like Rashard Lewis. It's the journeyman himself, Luke Ridnour.
That's who I thought. Yeah.
He got traded so many times, and after I think it was, I can't remember when it was, but he got bounced around between like 5 teams in 7 days or something ridiculous. He had a crazy point.
Minnesota to Milwaukee to Charlotte, I think, within a short amount of time.
It was the Bobcats that threw me off on that one, but I did think that was the only one I could think of that played for the Sonics apart from Rashard. But yeah, go on, G.
Sonics, you had Horace Grant, Patrick Ewing. Who else? We had Shamon Williams played for the Sonics of the Magic. Anyway, carry on. Right, so the next one. I'll give you the years here. So this one, drafted in 97-98, played for the Boston Celtics. He then played a season at Toronto between 98 and 99. He played for the Denver Nuggets between 99 and 2000. He was traded to the Magic. He did not play a game. He then played for the Timberwolves between 2000 and 2002 before playing for the Detroit Pistons between 2002 and 2008. Denver then between 08 and 11. The Knicks in 2011 for a short amount of time. The Clippers between 2011 and 2013. And then he finished in the Motor City in 2014.
You said he was drafted what year?
97-98 by the Boston Celtics. I think he was drafted. Boston drafted 2 players that season. I think it was either with Ron Mercer or Tony Battie. I can't remember who.
Oh man!
And he finished with Detroit.
Yeah, and he's won an NBA championship in there somewhere. If that helps.
Oh,
the only one I can think of, and I don't think it is Billups, but I don't think it is.
Why don't you think it's Billups?
I don't know. I've doubted myself a lot this season, so there's no exception to that.
Well, it is Chauncey Billups, mate.
Oh, okay.
So he obviously sat on the bench for the Magic. I think, was it the Heart and Hustle season? He got traded from Denver to Orlando. So, right, we've got one more, and this is probably the hardest one, I think, just because he played one season in Orlando. Drafted in 1998 by the Indiana Pacers. He then played in Atlanta between 2004 2006. He went back to Indiana for one season, 06-07. Played for the Golden State Warriors for one season, 07-08. Went to New York for to play for the Knicks between 08 and 10. Played for the Nuggets between 10 and 12. Played one season with the Magic between 12 and 13. And then he retired a Washington Wizard in 2014. And if you want another clue, I can tell you what jersey number he wore for us.
So that means this one's a stinker then.
No, it's not actually. It's a common number. It's a common number. Yeah.
Did it? Okay, give us the number. Did he wear it his whole career or just with Orlando?
He wore it most of his career, I believe. He wore the number 3. And I think he came to the league from high school, if that helps, to the Pacers.
Mikey, you have any?
Mate, I'm out on this one. Just reel the teams off again. Just reel the teams off one more time.
Okay. Pacers, Hawks, Pacers, Warriors, Knicks, Nuggets, Magic, Wizards. I said it was a difficult one, so go on, Luke. Have a stab at it, mate.
I have nothing. I'm finding out that I'm terrible with the journey of NBA players.
Who wore number 3?
And if you were to think of him, you'd probably associate him with the Pacers more than anybody else.
And you said he was drafted like in the late 90s?
No, 1990. Oh yeah, sorry, 1998.
Number 3. Mate, I'm out on this one.
If I told you his first name.
And his last name.
Yeah, and his last name would be great too.
His first name is Al.
Harrington.
Al Harrington. Yep. I told you it was a tough one.
Yeah, you're right. He barely played for.
I know. So there we go.
Very good, G.
So thank you for joining us, Luke.
Yeah, of course.
It's a pleasure. You had a good time?
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Long overdue.
It has been. So thank you, as always, for listening and watching the podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and hit the notification button so as not to miss any future episodes. Please make sure you visit the website, orlandomagic.uk.com. For the latest news, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, all at Orlando Magic UK. All of our links are featured in the podcast description. So thank you to Luke for joining us. So from Mikey, Paul, and myself, until next time, go Magic.